Hey guys, it's Rival. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing Xiao Ming, China's best Aatrox player into the Jax matchup. Going to use some editing magic right now to put his runes up on the screen. One of my lovely new subscribers actually suggested that I go over the runes in the matchup before we begin the VOD review, so that's what we're doing right now. I'm only going to be going over his laning phase, but if you guys want to watch the entire VOD, I'm going to link it in the description. If you also enjoy this type of video, please leave some feedback, a comment, like, sub, dislike, whatever you want to leave. Any sort of feedback helps me achieve the most optimal educational content that I possibly can put out for you guys. Going over the runes, Aatrox setup. We've got Conqueror leading for the keystone. This is pretty self-explanatory on most bruisers. Even more so Aatrox's first two runes, Conqueror and Triumph, because they give more healing than they normally do due to his ult. Gives increased healing overall. Third rune, we've got Alacrity. This is actually really important with Aatrox because, as you can read on his passive, I'm going to edit that on the screen right now too, Deathbringer Stance, we actually have his auto attacks and his abilities decreasing the cooldown of this passive by 2 seconds, 4 seconds if you hit it in the sweet spot of his Q. So this really helps Aatrox ramp up his passive in the later stages of the game. So having that extra attack speed in the early game can help it be a little bit more bearable. Aatrox's kit can feel a little bit clunky in the laning phase. It's not until we start getting some items that the champion starts to feel a bit more maneuverable and everything flows together a bit nicer. I really actually like this rune on Aatrox a lot. If we really need that tenacity, we can obviously opt into Merc Treads or Unflinching in the Resolve tree, which he does go this game. Last stand, the last one, as a drain tank that is reliant on his healing, Aatrox is going to be sub 100% HP most of all of his fights, actually. Between 30 and 70% HP, we're going to get a lot of value out of this rune. Resolve, we've got Bone Plating, pretty self-explanatory. Jax is going to lead the trade with Q&E, and Bone Plating will actually eat most of that damage. And then Unflinching. This rune got a buff pretty recently, probably somewhere in Season 11. Ever since then, this is basically a non-negotiable rune for me. I always run this rune comparative when I play Riven. I always run Unflinching, and then it'll be either Bone Plating, Shield Bash, Demolish, Second Wind, something along those lines. A very important rune, especially if we don't want to opt into going those Mercury's Treads. We can actually go for Tabby and then just let the rune do all the tenacity work. Let's jump into the gameplay, guys. Aatrox versus Jax. Let's get to it. So one thing I really like about Xiao Ming that I've seen so far in his gameplay is his ability to space really well. And I'm going to always talk about high level play in regard to we're always going to see him contest every CS, and no auto attack is by a mistake or without fail. You can see as soon as Jax has no pressure on the wave, he's going to walk up and try to deny him a CS. Immediately walks back into the wave to make Jax into as he makes a cat noise there. Makes him in a really uncomfortable position for Jax to trade. We know caster minions early levels do a lot of damage, especially when you opt for an item that's not Doran's. Obviously his corrupting pot doesn't give him any effective health. You can see Jax's base HP at level 1 is 593. Aatrox is 660 with that Doran shield. Any trade that Aatrox takes is going to actually probably heal back mostly with his passive and the Doran shield, whereas Jax is going to have to pop a pot to get healthy again. We also know when we're playing into a corrupting pot lane, you don't want to trade until the corrupting pot is down. I know, this is extremely tempting because I always do it and it's still a mistake I make, but trading with corrupting pot on is actually really bad because of the burn that it does on you, as well as the stats that it provides Jax. So we always just kind of let that out. If there's a corrupting pot on, just give him a little bit of space. We see Jax hit that level 3, Aatrox hit level 2, exchanges autos. Aatrox is actually going to walk up. Jax has got 2 spells down right now, so this is Aatrox's window to start thinning the wave back out so he can help form a freeze. If you don't thin the wave out when you have a slow push going into you, you're going to have a really big wave and it's going to be basically impossible to deal with when it gets out of the front of a tower. I'm also going to quickly note as well, he actually skilled 2 points in his Q here instead of his W. So Aatrox having 2 points in his Q here means that he gets to maintain that freeze with more damage on his Q. Can't really hit a W because Jax can just walk into the wave. So getting optimal value out of the most efficient spell at the time is actually really important. It's something I don't see a lot of low elo players do. Let's continue. We've got Aatrox's Q down, so his turn is effectively over for another 3 seconds until he gets back up. We're going to see, as soon as that goes up, I'm sure he'll walk up and start to thin the wave. Jax wastes his Q. He knows he's basically free from harass for a little bit. Jax goes to CS. Aatrox hits him with the last third Q. This is really good gameplay. Getting a very maximum efficiency out of his spells, so Jax can't freeze the wave. So that Jax can't have an easy time pushing the wave in. Sorry, follow my words. Jax doesn't opt for the base here as well. This is almost a level 4 cheater recall. But seeing as Jax probably doesn't really have a meaningful buy and he's still got a corrupting pot charge, he also does see his jungler invading. You guys can't see the meme out because of the cover, but Jax opts to go pressure in the jungle instead of maintaining his wave state. So we're going to see Aatrox start to build his own slow push from now. Kha'Zix is just sacrificing the buff. He's going to leave. Let's see what he does here. He should just slow push it for now until he gets enough creeps on his side where he can hard push it and Jax doesn't freeze. The reason you want to slow push a wave, and I'm going to explain this, as Aatrox really punishes him. Let's just go back on that little bit of micro, guys. We need to be dissecting these little micro plays to understand exactly how to get the most value out of a champion like Aatrox. Let's jump back 5 seconds. 10 seconds. So we see Jax jump on Aatrox here, leads with Q. There's W, bone plating eats W. So we see him hit first Q, which if you chain Q1 on the hotspot and on the sweet spot and W, the knock-up ensures that you hit W. The knock-up of the Q ensures you hit W. So also another big thing to note there as well is Aatrox hits his third Q. The knock-up makes Jax displaced, so he can't actually walk towards Aatrox and hit him. So Aatrox gets to walk out of his E scot-free, as we see here. Walks back up to try and get another passive shot off, can't. Jax also gets the blue buff as well. Not the highest value rune on Jax. He's not a massive mana-hungry champion, and his CDs are already pretty low. As we see a gank about to happen, has to flash the E, no worries. As I said before, we're not giving anything for free here as well. By doing this, like a lot of low elo players would back off here. Xiao Ming obviously knows his limits very, very well. He knows that he's able to chunk Hecarim down quite a lot. This does two things. A, Hecarim can't repeat gank, or shouldn't repeat gank. Let's just see what happens here. And he can't dive? What are they doing? Okay, that's first blood. Very well played. So you could actually almost attribute this to when Hecarim goes on him here. So we see, sorry, it's a little bit back here. So if Hecarim had backed off there and was around 75%, 80% HP, they definitely could have dove Aatrox here because Hecarim would have been healthy enough to tank. We know Aatrox doesn't have a flash up, but because they're both so low, I think they kind of get stuck in this weird little limbo where they're not really sure what's going to happen. Hecarim obviously can't commit. As soon as he hits that E, the tower's going to hit him once and he's just dead. Xiao Ming just hits them both for free, basically. They have a big miscommunication. They're giving first blood across. Very, very well played. You might just think to yourself, like a low elo player would be watching this and just like, this literally just seems like they just played it really badly, right? They just played it stupidly. Absolutely not. Every little thing that Xiao Ming just did there leads up to that play eventuating the way that it did. Gets him the kill, gets him the blue buff across, gets him first blood, makes Hecarim back off, wastes Hecarim's time top. These sort of things are going to get you ahead as a top laner. Him knowing his limits just there and putting the pressure on Hecarim just meant that they couldn't dive and put him in a really high pressure situation where they had to make kind of like a make or break call if they wanted to continue their play. We've got him doing a slow push now. This was around mid to late season 11, so TP you could still cast on the wave. Going to be building a slow push here. Let's see how he approaches it. Bramble Vest. I don't mind this item first into double AD topside, as well as also has some sort of effect on Sylas, their mid laner, because it offers healing negation. And Sylas is obviously pretty revolving around that healing component of his W in skirmishes. I do like this option as well. It is defensive, but at the same time, it still offers damage. So I mean, with Jax auto attacking so much, every single auto attack is going to give some of that magic, some of that damage reflected as magic damage. But let's also just jump back really quickly as well. I want to analyze a quick micro tip that I've noticed with Xiao Ming in a few of his gameplays. We'll see here, he goes for an EQ. I love the way that he does this. He always E's at the last moment possible, because if you start the E too early, when you're in midair, the Q hasn't crashed yet. If you E at the last little bit of the Q, it crashes as it hits the ground, so they can't dodge it. So you'll watch this. So Q, E. So see, just as it's about to crash, he E's. So it gives the enemy champion no window to back off or avoid the Q. Really, really nice little mechanic. I actually didn't pick up until I watched Xiao Ming. Might be something that's a bit of a beginner sort of thing for most players or players that play Aatrox a lot, but for me, I don't really. And it definitely taught me something about Aatroxes and something else, a new mechanic that I have to be wary of. He has Bramble Vest here, so he can't really pressure Jax as much as you probably would like to onto this tower, because when you take Bramble Vest, obviously, enemy champion can auto you to draw a tower aggro. We see Jax committing here, level 7 to level 5. Bruh. Gets Jax flash out. Before we do this, there's a little bit more I have to expand on as well. We can see basically every last hit Jax goes up for here, he's walking up because he's got his passive. Jax is so scared of getting harassed by this Aatrox. We see here, Jax eats a Q. All these little things, guys, are going to eventuate into a better top laner. This sort of pressure, think about if you're in the Jax's position. You are hating life right now. You're like, man, Get off me. I just want to last hit these minions. I just want this XP. I just want to get myself back in the game. But he, not only does this harassing mean that Aatrox can eventually dive him, it also means that Jax has to be really worried about his own, like the jungler coming to dive him. The lower Jax gets, the harder this lane gets for him. Let's just go back to the kill. So we've got Jax spending flash here. Aatrox waits for his cooldowns before he draws tower aggro. Misses Q1, Q2, Q3. Nothing Jax can do about it. Movement speed gets him to safety. Very, very well played by Xiao Ming. Takes a tower plate, probably should leave. I think he has enough for Iron Spike Whip. Yep, 11-24, perfect. Goes to take another wave. Actually, we'll just quickly rebrief this. I'm very curious to know why he wants to take this wave. I often talk about tempo. When you have tempo and the buy for the item that you're going to buy, like you should head to lane with the idea of the item that you want to save up for and buy. He already has 1100 here for Iron Spike Whip, so I'm not really sure why he wants to take this next wave. You should always back on a cannon wave if you can as well, because if that wave crashes into your tower, the cannon will probably only die, maybe 1 or 2 melees, and you might get back to lane when just the cannon's being attacked. So you miss very minimal XP, whereas if the wave isn't a cannon and it crashes into your tower, the tower can probably eat all 6 minions if you're gone for long enough. So I'm not really sure why he decides to do this here. Jax also still has his TP. So by him hitting the minions here, and they all get really low, as you see the casters are really low and the cannon's missing about a quarter of its HP, Jax can actually freeze here because Jax's wave will die faster. Not really sure why he did that. I feel like it was just a mistake. Don't really know why he wanted the wave either, but let's just fast forward and see what happens. We got 38 CS to 47, level 7, almost level 8, Jax level 6. Let's see what he does with this lead. 2 to 3 though, the map's actually falling apart a little bit. So he's gonna have to carry this game pretty hard. I have actually seen the outcome of this game. He does carry. So if you guys want to watch the rest of this, or if you would like me to even do full game reviews where I unpack how he carries, feel free to leave that suggestion in the comments if you'd like to see that kind of content. I personally enjoy laning phase the most and pride myself on my laning phase. So this is kind of like more of the topics that I want to watch and I also want to unpack for you guys. We see 194 damage coming out from his Q hotspot. Again, Jax either has to eat a third Q in an auto or go for this CS. Always pressuring. We see Jax is in such a high pressure situation right now. Aatrox goes for the dive again. Very well played. Just micro mastery by this champ. I haven't seen someone pilot Aatrox this cleanly or this smoothly in a long time. Just really putting Jax out of the game. We also obviously all know how oppressive of a champion Jax can be when he gets ahead. This guy's putting on the masterclass on how to do the same on Aatrox. We also see a little mechanic here as well. We sort of go auto, E, auto. When you E on Aatrox, it cancels your auto attack animation, so it goes through twice as fast, just so you know. Actually a really, really helpful mechanic when you're in those high pressure situations where everyone's low HP. Let's see what he continues to do. We know that the map's kind of stabilized a little bit here, but he also needs to break top as soon as he can so he can start pressuring the map. Aatrox very close to his Gore Drinker. Ah, that was so satisfying. Continues on. Bramble Vest buy out of Jax with a Longsword, Doran's Blade to Xiao Ming's almost completed Gore Drinker. Let's see if he can't get a kill here. I feel like Jax is inting. So EQ. Alright. Sick played. Jax should die. We're going to unpack one other little thing about this that I need to expand on that I also noticed watching Xiao Ming's gameplay. So you'll see here, if you hit the sweet spot on Aatrox's Q onto Jax, he actually gets CC'd for a split second. So we see bop, 173, goes straight up in the air for 0.25, I think it is. Bam. In that 0.25, Jax can't continue to walk out of the W. And obviously, as we know, when the W runs out, it pulls you back in the middle. If you hit 2 of these, they can't escape the W. Or even one of them. Either way, just a small little micro tip that you guys need to be aware of. You should be thinking to yourself, when I cast Aatrox W, I need to chain this with one of my Q hotspots so Jax, or the champion I'm playing against, can't escape the W, and it'll pull them back in. These tiny little micro things that you put together will make you much better at your champion and establish mastery a lot quicker. We see the maps falling back into disarray. I think he finishes off this tower here. Guys, that's going to conclude the laning phase analysis of this gameplay. I don't think anything will happen here. I'll quickly chuck something in here. We see Hecarim come to answer the top lane. He doesn't just back off. He's like, oh, Hecarim's here, I better leave. He makes sure Hecarim can't go gank anywhere else. He makes him hurt for that. Hecarim's down to 20% HP. There's no way Jackson Hecarim can kill him. He's 3 levels down. Alright, as I said, I'm going to conclude the gameplay here, guys. If you enjoyed watching this kind of gameplay, please leave some suggestions on what you would like to see. See if you can't finish yourself with a kill for us, baby. Yeah, baby, let's get to work. Alright, thanks so much for watching. I'll be in the next video. I'm going to pump out some content in the next few days, guys. Thank you all very much. Feel free to leave a sub if you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!